Hello and thanks for joining us today. So this webinar will run for about 20 minutes and is going to be a dive into ABM, what it is and how to implement it in your organisation. My name's Joe Birkdale, I'm the CEO of Project 36, and this will be recorded and a recording will be made available to you straight after that you can share internally with other people in your organisation. So this isn't going to be the deepest of dives, as I say, it's an introduction, but we are going to cover three primary areas. The first being what is ABM and understanding ABM, the true ABM sales funnel. Number two, the 6 stages of ABM delivery, what you need to be doing to get ABM working in your organisation and the things you need to consider. And number three, some 5 takeaway pro tips to implement ABM like a pro. Okay, so what is ABM and how do you understand the true ABM sales funnel? Top left, middle right, you've got 2 big banner adverts, display ads. To capture people's attention, you need a huge volume of people to walk through, and this is traditional outdoor advertising. You need big spend, you need huge volumes of people to see it. Nobody in this picture is looking up and taking notice of those adverts. So to get the return, you need mass exposure. ABM's different. ABM is about reaching out and targeting exactly who you want to speak to because you've pre-identified. You know what drives them, what problems they have, what you need to communicate to them in order to reach them. So account-based marketing is, or traditionally was known as key account marketing. It's a strategic approach to business. You understand your target audience and you treat them as a market of one, regardless of how many people in your database or your company prospect database. You're treating your audience as a market of one. ABM works. Statistically, it outperforms all other marketing activities, but it is a long-term play, and we'll touch on that in a little while. Okay, so pioneered by Itzma, account-based marketing really looks to flip the traditional marketing funnel, certainly the inbound marketing funnel, on its head. So on the left-hand side, you've got a more traditional marketing approach, which is basically mass appeal. Get as many people to you, then work about how you're going to convert them into customers. With inbound marketing, for example, you attract as many people as you can to your site through SEO and content. You get them to sign up and sign up to your white papers or your webinars or whatever it might be, and then you automate them, maybe with some software such as HubSpot. You're then identifying those target companies that come at the bottom as hot leads. And account-based marketing is basically the opposite way around. You start off by you pre-target your companies. Who do you want to work with? Who are you a good fit? And then you're going to go about engaging them with personalized campaigns. What pains does each of those people in your companies have? What service or solution do you offer them? What specifically do they need? And then obviously you can then build lasting relationships that are going to bring you new opportunities. So let's dive into that a little bit more. So on the left again, we've still got the traditional sales funnel, which is traditionally high volume, low value. So you've got lots of people coming through, you give them a bit of awareness, you generate some interest, eventually they'll start to consider your product or your offering, and they'll make a purchase. Traditionally, as I say, low value. With ABM, you're moving from high volumes of low quality, low value, fairly cold prospects into high quality, high value, profiled and qualified sales leads. And traditionally ABM works well where you've got a low volume of clients or opportunity, but a high value. So this would be where you've got a lot of human interaction, you've got a consultative sell, highly configurable, and we're talking into the thousands in average order value. Okay, so there are 3 primary types of ABM that you might want to implement into your organization. ABM to one, ABM to few, and ABM to many. And the further along you go, the more technology you're going to need. So that introduces complexity, it also introduces cost. If you go in ABM to many, you can have a very large capital expenditure for the software that you're going to need to manage all the variable data points that you're going to generate. ABM 1-to-1 or ABM to one is traditionally where people start. ABM to few is where most stay. And we'll go through each one of those. So strategic ABM or ABM to one, the primary goal here is to change your account perception, so change perception of how you're viewed within the industry, you as a supplier, build some executive relationships and start identifying the opportunities. And ideally you want to be looking between 1 to 5 accounts. That's manageable. It's manageable for a small team. You don't particularly need software to do so. You just need to keep track of that. ABM to few, or ABM light as we call it, your primary goal here is to build relationships and identify opportunities. At this point you're going to start wanting some automation software, something like HubSpot or Pardo or Marketo, and you're going to want to handle between 5 to 10 accounts. Now in a minute we're going to talk about the key decision making unit, or the DMU. So you may only have 10 accounts and you think, well, that's very manageable, but within each of those accounts you could have 10, 15, 20 people. So straight away you can see, 10 times 10 you've got 100 pieces of information that need to be tailored already. Then they've got the sales funnel behind that and the content flow, so it can get very large very quick. So this is when you'd want to start introducing technology. And absolutely, when you get into programmatic or ABM to many, your primary goal here is qualified lead generation. The volume of people you can deal with is unlimited, but as I said before, you absolutely must have a solid technology stack. You're going to need people to run that stack, either internally or externally, but the capex is going to be significant, but as is the reward. So key takeaway number 1 here for you is that ABM is about absolute laser focused targeted comms to a decision making unit within each target account. And we're going to go and talk about the decision making unit next. So there are 6 stages of ABM delivery. First step is discover and define your high value accounts. Now if you're targeting the likes of Coca-Cola or Pepsi or Mars Foods, then absolutely fine, but make sure and be honest that you can deliver what they as a customer need. Are you in the right market for them? And if you are, and if you're honest and you've done an appraisal and say yes, our product or service does match what they're likely to look for, then you've got your target account list. And let's say that's 10 companies. Now what we need to do is move on to step 2 and identify the key players within them. And by this I mean the team of people who will be making a decision about buying your product or service. So in a simple sell, it's just perhaps the purchasing manager or the purchasing director. They will make a decision, they want this product, it fits their requirements as best they know, they'll make the purchase. That autonomy tends to happen on lower ticket pricing. As soon as you get into a complex sell or a solution sell that's got many facets, or it's going to impact the business over a longer period of time, or the cost is significant, then you're going to start to find that you've got a team of influencers, or as we call them, key decision makers. And the decision making unit is that group of people. So you may have a purchase order come from, let's say, the finance director, but it may not be he or she that makes the final purchasing decision. It may be a collective or a board effort. So each person on that buying board or that decision making unit, they will have very slightly different needs, pains that need to be addressed. Again, somebody using the product isn't concerned about the cost necessarily, because it's not one of their key performance indicators. Their issue, if they need your solution, so let's say it's a software piece, their issue is that they need that software to work efficiently to help them deliver their job. So if they're an engineer and they've got some simulation software, they need that software to absolutely work for them as quickly as possible and to the best of its capability. The cost really isn't within their remit. Whereas the finance director, the cost is absolutely their remit. How it works and the functionality of it, okay, it's important, but it's not important to them. So you see, you've got very different pain points and human factors that we need to address. Step 3. So defining content and personalised messaging is really important. So we've got our DMU now. We know who we want to work with. We now need to define the personalised messaging for them. So if it's an FD, we're going to talk about costs. We're going to talk about making sure that this is... we might talk about the tax position, the ability to write it down, the long-term training costs, you name it. Whatever that FD needs, we'll work it out, understand, and tailor their content to them. And we'll touch on that again in a minute. Step 4 is to determine the optimal channel of communication. How do they like to be reached? Is it a good old-fashioned phone call? Is it a letter? Is it an email? Is it a webinar invitation? Are we inviting them to be a panelist or on a round table discussion? What is the optimum channel of communication? Obviously digital is fantastic because it's infinitely trackable, but it shouldn't be the only aspect of what you're looking to do. Step 5, we're going to press play. We're going to start this campaign off and we're going to get going. So you can see already we've got quite a significant amount of background work and research and planning and preparation before we even turn this campaign on. And step 6 is about measuring, learning, optimizing and repeating from step 1. Now, sales cycles vary, product complexity varies, the consultancy and the service and the solution sell vary. So this model, whilst it's got 6 steps, you're going to have different stages based on your business. Okay, so it's all very well known, the principles and the fundamentals. Actually, how do you do ABM? Well, as I said, it's about identifying the key decision makers within each of your target companies, and then it's absolutely about mapping those pain points. And we'll go on and explain that in a simplified but real world example of how, if you map your buyers, your decision making unit out, you get your messaging strategy. Once you've got your messaging strategy, you can work out your communications methods, and then your ABM campaign is ready to run. So this example should work fairly globally. A university course, let's say they're based in the United States, they've got 2 primary targets, 2 primary people who are going to be in the decision making unit. The first is the student and the second is the parent. Now obviously this is simplified, there might be friends, there might be employers, etc. But in this simplified example, university is selling a course, the student is obviously the person that's going to be sitting and studying that course, and their parent or guardian are going to be helping support them and helping them make that decision. So this is the decision making unit. Both have slightly different but very important pains, and we need to identify each in order to win them both over. So the student on the left hand side, they're going to have a different set of values, different problems that they want to overcome, things they want to know about this university and this course. And these are not in any particular order, but just to show you the difference. So the student is interested in nightlife. I remember when I was a university student, going out, pubs, bars, very important, as I'm sure you can all agree. Next was the quality of accommodation. Was there an ensuite in the student halls? Was there a plentiful supply of decent accommodation for years 2 and 3 and so on? Could I get home quickly? Can I get on the train? Actually, what do my mates think of this university? Is it good? Do they want to come and stay? Are they going to think I've gone to a good place? And lastly, what is the course quality? Whereas the parents, course quality is going to be probably paramount, followed by cost, the chances of employability thereafter, the university reputation, the safety, the very different sets of pains that they'll want answers to, yet they're buying exactly the same product. So you can see the opportunity for the university is to understand what each part of their decision-making unit needs to hear and communicate accordingly. So key takeaway 2, we need to understand in advance what is the problems, the pains of our DMU and everybody in that DMU, so that we can reach out to them in the most appropriate format. Okay, so 5 tips on how we can implement ABM like a pro. Number 1, we're going to give you all these on screen at the same time, but I'm going to talk through each. Number 1, top-down mentality. Do not start an ABM campaign within your organisation unless everybody from the top to the bottom understands why it's there, what it's going to do, the value it's going to bring, the time it's going to take, the cost it might incur. Because if it's not understood and valued by every head of every department in your organisation, it will fail. So top-down mentality. There are a lot of factors to consider with ABM, and everybody in the decision-making positions within your organisation absolutely needs to understand it and buy into it. Step 2, engage and unite. The whole company needs to be united on this, but fundamentally we need to be talking about unifying sales and marketing with agreed objectives and responsibilities. They really do need to understand each other and work well together and unite. Number 3, we need to be establishing agreeing goals. What does success look like? What does failure look like? And then we need to set milestones that we can measure and think of KPIs that are outside of revenue or outside of account reach. What does customer service milestones look like that ABM can be influential on? What does returns look like? If you've got a product that goes out, is it a case of people need to read the manuals better? once they've got the product. So you can start to see there's lots of different metrics and measures that you should be looking at and establish. Number 4, realistic timeframes. This is a mid to long range strategy. We're talking years in some instances, and most return will come in years 2 and year 3 onwards, because you're learning and you're adapting as you go. And don't forget, the more complex a sell, the more likely is that has gone through a tender or a bidding process. So there's a very long sales cycle there, let alone being invited to that tendering process straight away. So don't pitch this to your business and expect revenue straight away. It takes time. Number 5, reward and recognition. You've got to share the success and the failure. Marketing can't function without sales, and sales can't function without marketing, and so on. So when part of the organisation is succeeding, share it. When the other's failing, share it, experience it, work as a team. So ABM, if you're going to implement it, really should be called account-based everything, because it is going to touch every part of your organisation. If you do it properly, if you implement it correctly, you're going to invigorate and unite your sales teams. They're going to feel supported. They're having a lot of time, effort, and probably cost in order to help them hit their objectives, hit their quotas, hit their targets. But really, they really do need to understand the effort that goes into those campaigns and be a part of setting those campaigns. And there should be jointly documented and agreed responsibilities for who does what, when, and in response times, almost like a service level agreement within the company. So key takeaway number 3, ABM is a constant evolving mid to long term process. Do not set and forget, do not expect this to come and go. You need to commit to it for the long term. So if you align your sales and marketing better, Serious Decisions looked at a lot of B2B organisations that are running ABM, and they found that those with a tightly aligned sales and marketing operations were nearly a quarter faster to 3-year revenue growth, and of those, almost 30% faster to 3-year profit growth. So if you align ABM into your organisation and tie in sales and marketing effectively, not only is your campaign going to be a success, but you're going to grow quicker and you're going to grow profitably faster. So key takeaway number 4, ABM impacts all areas of your business. So look at and track the KPIs that matter to your business. Track and report on everything and make sure everybody sees what's going on. So sales, marketing, service, you name it. They all need KPIs in there. You need to track and report and share them all. Okay, so I've been Joe Birkdale. I'm CEO at Project 36. Thank you very much for your time.